Naoto, a shy second-year student, enters the library but is greeted by the bustling chatter of girls engaged in conversation and spreading rumors. Despite his efforts to remain unnoticed, he finds himself surrounded by a quartet of girls engrossed in discussion. Determined to maintain his composure, Naoto attempts to retreat to his beloved book. However, his composure crumbles when one of the girls starts searching the bookshelf right behind him, and in his anxiety, he accidentally drops his bag, spilling his drawings and manga stories all over the floor. Some of the girls notice his mishap and begin to mock and laugh at his creations. As they ridicule his work and poke fun at him, Naoto closes his eyes and tries to endure until they leave. However, one of the girls named Nagatoro takes notice of Naoto's unusual reaction and decides to stay behind. She initiates a conversation with him, revealing her creepy and overly excited demeanor while Naoto struggles to cope with her behavior. Unexpectedly, she starts reading his manga in a way that makes him uncomfortable, clearly aiming to embarrass him further. Throughout this ordeal, Naoto focuses on maintaining his calm. After reading his manga, she asserts that the main character represents him, even though he would rather not admit it. She goes on to make him act out a scene from the manga, but his embarrassment overwhelms him, and he begins to cry, feeling trapped in this difficult situation. To comfort him, the girl offers him her handkerchief to wipe his tears and apologizes for making fun of him before saying goodbye. The following day, the girl finds Naoto outside the art room and engages in conversation once more, but Naoto does his best to ignore her. He returns the clean handkerchief and hurriedly enters the art room, hoping she will leave him alone. Unfortunately, she follows him into the room and they are alone together. She persists in teasing him, even when she sees him practicing his drawing on a canvas. She insists on being his model. And when he finishes the drawing, she mentions a reward but sets a condition: he must close his eyes. This terrifies him, as he fears she might attempt to kiss him. As he closes his eyes, he senses her drawing near. But to his relief, she merely laughs at his apprehension. After poking fun at him for his incomplete drawing, she continues her efforts to make him cry and then offers comfort with her handkerchief, promising a better reward next time. Later, she approaches him outside the school and playfully asks him out. An embarrassed Naoto remains silent, prompting Nagatoro to tease him further by suggesting she was joking. She playfully pushes him, but he ends up falling into the canal. Nagatoro sincerely apologizes and wonders why Naoto isn't angry with her. Naoto reflects on his life, realizing that he's been subjected to mockery for so long that her behavior seems normal to him. Nagatoro asks about his feelings, and Naoto admits that despite disliking her teasing, he enjoys talking to her. Satisfied with his response, Nagatoro insists that he call her by her name. The following day, Naoto is peacefully drawing in the art club room when Nagatoro arrives, eager to show off her hula hooping skills. She invites him to join, but their game takes an unexpected turn when he accidentally sneaks a peek under her skirt. Finally, he anticipates having a quiet moment to himself in the art room to read an exciting manga story. In the dimly lit room, he savors the solitude, just the way he prefers it. After having dinner, Naoto eagerly takes out the manga to read. Unfortunately, his peaceful moment is short-lived as Nagatoro discovers him once more. Relentless as ever, she doesn't give him a break, making him feel anxious. He awkwardly tries to hide the comic behind him since he doesn't want her to see it, especially if it contains inappropriate themes. Naoto knows she'll tease him mercilessly, but Nagatoro, perceptive as always, senses that he's keeping a secret. A brief tug-of-war ensues as he attempts to put the manga in his bag, with him insisting it's not inappropriate. Later, in the art room, Naoto tries to practice his drawing in peace but gets interrupted again, and at this point, he's almost come to expect it. Nagatoro bursts into the room, eager to play a game with him, and regrettably, it's a game centered around guessing body parts. Needless to say, Naoto doesn't fare well in this situation. Just when he thinks he's found a moment of solitude, he encounters Nagatoro at a family restaurant he's dining in. She's with her friends, and he notices that her friend introduces her to two guys. Naoto wonders if she'll tease them like she does him and hides behind a nearby seat to observe. Feeling a bit down, he notices that although she's a bit cold to the two boys, she doesn't tease them as relentlessly as she does him. He wonders if he's the only one subjected to her frequent teasing. While on his way back to home, he unexpectedly runs into Nagatoro, who reveals that she knew he was spying on them. She teases him, calling him creepy for eavesdropping, much to his embarrassment. The next day, Nagatoro once again finds Naoto in the art room. She offers to model for him to help him improve his art skills and playfully shows off her school swimsuit, which embarrasses him. However, Naoto declines her offer. After school, they get caught in the rain. Nagatoro rushes to find shelter, but Naoto, not as physically fit, lags behind. They end up taking refuge in a park to wait out the rain. While at the shelter, Nagatoro teases Naoto to look away, claiming she's wearing her white school uniform. However, he accuses her of actually wearing the swimsuit and turns around to check. To their embarrassment, she was, in fact, wearing her school uniform. Naoto apologizes, and Nagatoro continues to tease him. Later, Nagatoro learns that Naoto's house is quite far away and invites him to wait out the rain at her place. Naoto becomes anxious, fearing that her family might be just as teasing and tormenting as she is. To his relief, Nagatoro reveals that her family is out for the day. After a shower and borrowing her brother's clothes, they have tea together. Nagatoro teases Naoto for being embarrassed about spending time alone with a girl at her house. She suggests they play games and introduces a fighting game, pretending to be experienced. However, Naoto quickly starts winning, and to prevent his victory, Nagatoro distracts him and emerges victorious, calling him a scrub. They spend several hours playing, with Nagatoro consistently winning. Naoto eventually leaves and admits he had a good time at her house. The following day during lunch, Naoto has no place to sit, so Nagatoro invites him to sit with her and her friends, Maki and Yoshi. Naoto is nervous about being teased but sits down with them anyway. Nagatoro's friends tease her, and she jokingly says Naoto is her boyfriend, though she adds that he's more like her pet. When Yoshi tries to mess with Naoto's hair, Nagatoro intervenes. Maki calls Naoto a bug, which prompts Nagatoro to defend him, getting visibly angry. Naoto, noticing her defense, attempts to make a proclamation that he is not her boyfriend but hesitates and sits back down sheepishly. Later, at the art club, Nagatoro tries to teach Naoto how to stand up for himself when teased and starts a mock class to instruct him. She advises him to slap others if they mock him, and they practice with her playfully teasing him while Naoto tries to defend himself. However, when Nagatoro makes fun of his messy hair, Naoto starts to cry since she took it too far. Nagatoro apologizes but then seizes the opportunity to tease him further and provoke him to react, although his aim is off, leading to an awkward and embarrassing moment for both of them. The next day, Naoto enjoys a peaceful day in the art club room with no sign of Nagatoro to bother him. However, his respite is short-lived as her friends, Maki and Yoshi, unexpectedly arrive. Naoto recalls how they teased him during lunch and dreads the upcoming interaction. Although they initially come to look for Nagatoro, they decide to stay and watch him eat. With a knack for making fun of his inexperience with girls, they relentlessly tease him. Naoto, feeling trapped, contemplates making a hasty escape. Before he can flee, Maki and Yoshi insist that he retrieve bean cakes from Maki. However, their antics come to an abrupt end when they spot Nagatoro approaching. A disappointed Nagatoro initially acts coldly towards Naoto, who tries to defend himself and explain Maki's trick. However, she quickly cheers up and issues a challenge to Naoto. He must correctly guess where she is hiding the premium bean cake. Unfortunately, Naoto makes a mistake that embarrasses Nagatoro, and she swiftly punishes him. They subsequently share an awkward lunch together. Later, Naoto returns to the art room to draw and reminisces about a time when Nagatoro demanded he draw her instead of useless fruit. Nagatoro later arrives, dragging a sofa from another clubroom to ensure she has a comfortable seat. From the art club room, Naoto observes his other classmates and discusses his lack of popularity with Nagatoro. She encourages him to start praising others as a way to become more popular at school, and then asks him to compliment her. Initially, Naoto's compliments are timid, but when he gives her a heartfelt compliment, she becomes embarrassed. Nagatoro quickly recovers and praises Naoto's random and twitchy facial expressions when he's being teased. They transition to drawing Nagatoro while she poses, and Naoto has to continually remind her to stop teasing him. Nonetheless, Naoto struggles to capture Nagatoro's likeness, and several hours pass with little progress. Nagatoro mocks his lack of headway, but eventually falls asleep on the cozy couch. With Nagatoro asleep, Naoto seizes the opportunity to sketch her on his easel. When she wakes up and sees the sketch, she's genuinely impressed and rewards Naoto by making him kiss a small stuffed animal. One day, Nagatoro arrives at the art club to tease Naoto as usual, but somehow he ignores her teasing no matter how much she tries. Surprisingly, Maki and Yoshi arrive, asking if Naoto prefers to hang out with them instead. Nagatoro, taken aback and somewhat hurt, watches in disbelief as they all leave the art club together. The shock of her dream jolts Nagatoro awake in the real world, and she finds herself back in Naoto's presence. An embarrassed Nagatoro, spooked from her dream, tentatively tries to compliment Naoto. Later, Naoto's uneasiness grows, and Nagatoro springs into action, tackling him and launching a tickle attack. They both find themselves sitting on the couch, and Nagatoro, with a mischievous grin, claims she's not ticklish and challenges Naoto to try and tickle her. A bashful Naoto tentatively attempts to tickle her, but Nagatoro quickly backs out. Nagatoro later stumbles upon a video of a sheep getting its wool sheared and excitedly shows it to Naoto. She playfully comments that his long hair resembles sheep's wool and suggests he get a haircut. After playfully tousling his hair, she even offers to give him a haircut with electric shavers. A startled Naoto insists that he's not a sheep and expresses a fear of shavers. Nagatoro relents and opts for a brush and clippers instead, promising just a small trim. However, before they can begin, Nagatoro receives a call from her friends, supposedly summoning her to their classroom. It turns out to be a ruse to get her to leave the art club. Despair sets in as Naoto spots Maki and Yoshi entering the art club. Discovering the electric shaver, Yoshi holds Naoto hostage while Maki threatens to use the shaver on him. In defense, Naoto begins spinning to ward them off. Meanwhile, Nagatoro hears the commotion and rushes back to find her friends attempting to shear Naoto. Maki and Yoshi make a hasty retreat, leaving Nagatoro frustrated. Later, Nagatoro trims Naoto's hair to a more manageable length, and when he compliments her, she teases him in embarrassment. As summer arrives with scorching heat, Nagatoro suggests they cool off with some shaved ice. They encounter a massive crowd and a long line at the shop, but Nagatoro insists on waiting. While in line, Naoto positions himself between Nagatoro and some dubious individuals. However, the heat eventually takes a toll on Nagatoro, and Naoto decides it's best to pull her out of the line. They head to a park, where Nagatoro rehydrates and starts feeling better. Though they miss out on shaved ice, Nagatoro decides to buy them ice cream instead. As they walk home, they discuss their plans for the summer break, with Naoto feeling a twinge of sadness at the prospect of not seeing Nagatoro as much. Nagatoro surprises him by requesting his phone number so they can stay in touch during the summer, to which Naoto hesitantly agrees. In a mischievous parting move, Nagatoro shows him a perv sticker and playfully runs off, later spamming him with a barrage of messages. One day, Naoto wakes up to an unusual sight, a mysterious hooded girl watching over him. She explains that he has been chosen to save a different world and promises him magical powers, citing his inexperience with girls as a key factor. After presenting him with a staff, she transports him to a fantasy realm teeming with dragons and monsters. In the midst of peril, a menacing lizard attacks Naoto, but salvation comes in the form of an unexpected ally, a boxing cat named Nekatoro. Together, they engage in battles against monstrous foes, forming an unbreakable bond. Ultimately, they confront a formidable dragon, where Nekatoro's combat skills alone prove insufficient. It's then that Naoto rises to the occasion, defending Nekatoro with his newfound staff. Combining their magic, they manage to defeat the dragon, only to unveil an astonishing twist. It transforms into Maki, who warmly greets Nekatoro. As the adventure continues, Yoshi emerges from an egg, and the four comrades unite to confront the Demon Lord. However, a shocking revelation unfolds. Nekatoro and her friends were the Demon Lords all along, and Naoto has fallen into their cunning trap. They capture him and threaten him with the prospect of eternal torture. Suddenly, Naoto awakens in a real-world restaurant, surrounded by Nagatoro and her friends. To his surprise, Nagatoro discovers his sketches of Nekatoro and playfully teases him for giving the character cat-like features. Later during the summer, Naoto is engrossed in watching television when Nagatoro calls, poking fun at him for squandering his summer break. She's adamant that they should head to the beach together, and Naoto agrees to meet up with her and her friends. On the way to the beach, they playfully compare his demeanor to that of solitary sea lice, leaving Naoto anticipating a potentially stressful time. Upon arriving at the beach, Naoto decides to forego swimming with the others, opting instead to sketch in the shade. While the girls engage in a lively water race, Nagatoro easily outpaces them thanks to her skills as a swim team member. She notices Naoto sitting alone and drawing while everyone else frolics in the water. Nagatoro, with her characteristic teasing, insists that he join in the fun, but Naoto becomes overwhelmed by fear at the thought of going into the water and potentially drowning. In a surprising turn of events, Nagatoro hands him sunscreen and gives him a gentle nudge into the water. To his amazement, Naoto finds himself having a genuinely enjoyable time at the beach. That night, he takes a moment to express his gratitude to Nagatoro for inviting him, recognizing the trip as a source of inspiration for his artwork. Inspired by the day's events, he begins to sketch Nagatoro against the backdrop of the beach, preserving the memory of their fun day together. Naoto, missing Nagatoro's presence during the summer, spends his time playing video games alone. He contemplates reaching out to Nagatoro, but ultimately decides against it, fearing the embarrassment of contacting her. After gaming, he ventures to a summer festival by himself, where he can't help but feel a twinge of jealousy as he observes happy couples enjoying the festivity. Suddenly, he bumps into Maki and Yoshi at the festival. Despite his attempt to escape, they catch up to him and tease him mercilessly for attending the festival solo. They inform him that Nagatoro couldn't make it since she's busy and refuse to let him go. The mischievous girls capture Naoto, put a leash on him, and snap a picture to send to Nagatoro, who becomes visibly upset. Nagatoro rushes to the festival from school to confront her friends. She tries to take the leash from Maki, but Maki resists and challenges Naoto for ownership of the leash. They decide to compete in festival games to determine the winner. While enjoying a shooting game together, Nagatoro teases Naoto about whether he was too embarrassed to invite her to the festival. However, she lightens up and promises that later in the summer they will go somewhere together. Throughout the night, all four of them play various festival games to win different prizes. Despite Maki having more prizes, Nagatoro claims victory by obtaining a huge stuffed squid. She playfully celebrates her win and removes Naoto's collar. After Maki and Yoshi leave the festival, Naoto and Nagatoro are left alone. They decide to share a meal together, and Nagatoro teases Naoto about their outing resembling a date. She playfully offers her hand to hold, but their attention is drawn to the fireworks display. Realizing that the fireworks line is excessively long, Naoto suggests they take an alternate path through the bushes. However, Nagatoro gets momentarily trapped in the line until Naoto rescues her. They find a secluded spot in the woods to watch the fireworks, and Naoto reveals that he discovered this secret place as a child. Nagatoro teases him for bringing a girl alone to a remote area and calls him sleazy. When Naoto challenges her teasing, Nagatoro dares him to make a romantic move. However, they quickly realize that other couples at the spot are engaged in romantic activities, which makes them both feel embarrassed. They hastily retreat and head home. On their way back, Nagatoro mentions that she'd like to wear a traditional yukata next time, and Naoto suggests that they attend next year's summer festival properly, which pleases Nagatoro greatly. As summer comes to an end, Naoto prepares to return to school. One day, he spots Nagatoro chatting with her friends in the park. Feeling somewhat unpopular at school, he initially keeps his distance. However, when a group of boys begins pressuring Nagatoro to spend time with them, Naoto steps in and invites her to walk with him. Nagatoro gladly agrees, and her friends decide to leave as well. Naoto's unexpected action earns him rare compliments from Nagatoro and her friends, who were irritated by the other boys. As they walk together, he also formally meets another one of Nagatoro's friends, Sakura. In the club room, Nagatoro playfully mocks Naoto's slender physique and suggests that he should consider starting muscle training. She offers her assistance, claiming she can help him transform from a bean sprout into a bodybuilder. However, Naoto is reluctant and insists on finding exercises that don't require much movement. Nagatoro then challenges him to do plank exercises with her sitting on top of him for added resistance. However, as Nagatoro enthusiastically encourages him, they inadvertently attract the attention of some classmates, leading to Naoto's quick failure. As time passes, a new video game is released, and Naoto's grades begin to decline as he becomes engrossed in gaming. Nagatoro reminds him that school-wide midterms are approaching and discovers that Naoto has been neglecting his studies. She sternly warns him that if he doesn't start studying, he may end up repeating a grade and sharing a class with her when she advances to the next year. Naoto doesn't initially see this as a problem, but is embarrassed when Nagatoro insists he should study and pass. Later, at the library, Naoto attempts to catch up on his studying while Nagatoro and her friends watch and tease him. They jokingly consider the possibility of Naoto failing 2 grades in a row, which would result in them all being senior to him. Naoto briefly daydreams about being in a situation where he must obey the commands of all the girls who are his seniors, but quickly realizes he needs to focus on his studies. Sakura reveals that all the girls, except Nagatoro, are also struggling with their grades, so they all have to prioritize their studies. After the midterms are over, Nagatoro is surprised to find that Naoto has actually performed well. Later, when she hears suspicious noises coming from the club room, she rushes in, fearing a terrible situation. However, she discovers her friends helping Naoto remove a splinter. She scolds him for acting too friendly, and they walk home together. Nagatoro insists that Naoto help her by carrying her bag, but when he refuses, they decide to play a game of rock, paper, scissors to determine who carries whom. Nagatoro loses the first round and becomes frustrated carrying Naoto's bag. They play again, and this time Naoto intentionally loses to cheer her up, ending up carrying her back. In their final challenge, Naoto loses, and Nagatoro insists that he carry both her and her bag home. After making fun of him for carrying a girl, Nagatoro suddenly becomes embarrassed and runs away. That night, Naoto becomes worried, but feels better when Nagatoro starts spamming him with teasing messages. She then calls him from the bath, which catches him off guard and prevents him from studying. An accidental camera mishap occurs during the call, leading to an awkward exchange and mutual apologies between the two. In the art club room, Naoto tries to concentrate, while Nagatoro is engrossed in shadow boxing practice. Playfully, she challenges Naoto to be her sparring partner and asks him to stand still while she pretends to box. However, things take an unexpected turn when she accidentally starts hitting him, causing Naoto to retreat. In the process, he slips and they unintentionally embrace, leading to an awkward moment that leaves them both embarrassed. Nagatoro later shares this encounter with her friends, sparking their interest in sparring with Naoto as well. Despite Nagatoro's attempts to dissuade them with nonsensical reasons, the girls decide to head to the club room to challenge Naoto. Hoping for a peaceful day, Naoto enters the art club, only to find the girls playing around. The girls explain that they usually hang out in the dining room, but a group of noisy boys there prompted their retreat to the art room. Naoto wonders why they haven't sought revenge on the boys, and the girls reveal they sent Sakura to disrupt them, planning to create jealousy among the boys. As they start teasing him, Nagatoro defends Naoto when Maki takes it too far. Nagatoro challenges the girls to find comics that Naoto supposedly hides in the art room, even though he insists it's clean. Secretly, Naoto has stashed some comics in the room next door, nervously hoping Nagatoro won't discover them. Nagatoro grows frustrated, convinced he's hiding something, so Naoto pretends to accidentally reveal a comic to let her make fun of him. Satisfied, the other girls leave the club room. The next day, Nagatoro arrives at the club room with new earrings, teasing Naoto to get some too. He finds it embarrassing, but Nagatoro suggests they get matching earrings, which flusters him. When Naoto winces in pain, he discovers Nagatoro was just teasing and pinched him instead. Meanwhile, Sakura seeks their help because one of the nerds is stalking her due to their earlier plan. She suggests that Naoto pretends to be her boyfriend to deter the stalker, leaving both Nagatoro and Naoto in shock. Nagatoro points out that this could potentially attract even more attention, but Naoto reluctantly agrees. Later, Naoto meets Sakura for a pretend date after school, with Sakura taking the lead. Nervous about his lack of dating experience, Naoto starts to feel uneasy. The other girls follow behind, teasing Nagatoro about the possibility of a real relationship between Naoto and Sakura, which frustrates her. Sakura playfully suggests that Naoto might prefer to be on a date with someone else, stirring the pot further. Eventually, Nagatoro takes matters into her own hands and captures the stalker, bringing an end to the date. As they walk home together, Nagatoro gleefully teases Naoto for his awkward behavior during the pretend date. One day, while walking back home, Nagatoro playfully teases Naoto about sending him hot snaps. Initially, Naoto thinks she means spicy texts, but she reveals she's talking about spicy hot chicken, leading to a humorous misunderstanding. Later, during gym class, Nagatoro and her friends witness Naoto struggling to keep up with his classmates, which disappoints her. After school, Nagatoro approaches Naoto, poking fun at his slow running. She questions his lack of speed, and he admits his strength lies in drawing, not physical activity. Nagatoro insists he practice running, and despite Naoto's excuses, she vows to start a tough training regimen the next day. True to her word, Nagatoro shows up at the park in her gym attire the following day, causing Naoto some embarrassment. She mocks his reaction and takes him jogging to improve his stamina. Naoto, initially unfit, struggles to keep up but gains motivation by watching Nagatoro run. He attempts to run ahead to avoid embarrassment but quickly falls behind. During a break, Naoto expresses his desire to give up, and Nagatoro taunts him, calling him a wimp and questioning his willpower. Her teasing eventually motivates him, and he angrily resumes running until he collapses in the park. The following day, Nagatoro decides that they need to cool down after their run with some stretching exercises. She takes the lead and guides Naoto through a stretching routine. Due to inflexibility, Naoto ends up requiring Nagatoro's assistance even with basic stretches. Although she enjoys helping him stretch, they both feel embarrassed when Yoshi arrives with her dog, catching them in an awkward moment. In the art room on the next day, Naoto contemplates his next portrait. When Nagatoro offers to model for him, he initially declines, explaining that he needs a male model for an upcoming school festival portrait. As she playfully teases him with his previous drawings, Naoto finally agrees but sets a condition: she'll have to dress up as the game character Nagatoro. Naoto expects her to refuse, but the tables turn when Nagatoro arrives in cosplay the next day. She's embarrassed and takes out her feelings on Naoto through insults. Despite his attempts to compliment her, she punishes him. Later, Nagatoro's friends visit the club room to watch Nagatoro model, and they discuss various activities for the school festival. Naoto recalls the successful art exhibition hosted by the art club last year and decides to do it again, but the girls find the idea dull. They suggest spicing it up with a cat cafe or a butler cafe. Worried about the art club president returning, Naoto hides Nagatoro and her friends in the next room when Sana, the president, arrives. Sana questions the club's plans and warns about rumors of misconduct. She sees snacks and reprimands them for not taking the club seriously. Sana threatens to shut down the club unless Naoto proves its worth. Nagatoro and her friends reveal themselves and defend Naoto, vouching for his dedication to art. Sana challenges Naoto to host a more successful art exhibition than she can, with the fate of the club on the line. Nagatoro assures Naoto that she'll help him through the challenge. The next day, despite her promise to help, Nagatoro and her friends can't resist poking fun at Sana for taking the challenge so seriously. Nagatoro becomes unhappy when Naoto defends Sana in front of them. While Nagatoro tries to cheer everyone up by expressing hope that they will win easily, Naoto remains convinced that they will lose to Sana. He explains that Sana is a perfectionist who always emerges victorious in any competition she enters, and her exhibit from the previous year was a hit since she modeled for herself. Nagatoro begins to tease Naoto for showing her Sana's artwork and becomes suspicious of his admiration for the club president. Nagatoro and her friends attempt to encourage Naoto to create a better portrait than Sana's, but they have doubts about Nagatoro's suitability as a model. Naoto defends Nagatoro's modeling skills, lifting her spirits and sparking her excitement about the challenge. She suggests that they use cosplay to set themselves apart, but Naoto still views the club president as an unbeatable opponent. As they walk home together, Nagatoro tries to tease Naoto to lift his spirits, but he remains concerned about the upcoming competition. Nagatoro reassures him that she will do everything she can to help. The following day, Nagatoro tries on different outfits for modeling, but Naoto suggests that it might be best for her to model as her natural self. He apologizes for involving Nagatoro in his club difficulties, acknowledging that it could lead to some embarrassment for her. An irritated Nagatoro leaves the club room in a huff. The next day, Naoto arrives to find that Sana has divided the club room so that she and Naoto can work separately. She later inspects his work critically and finds it unexciting and unsuitable for the festival audience. She disparages Naoto's art as fruit piece passionless just as Nagatoro arrives, prompting her to run off. Sana insists that Naoto should chase after Nagatoro and muster the courage to pursue the first year. As Nagatoro continues to evade him, Naoto reflects on all the memorable moments he has shared with her over the year. Nagatoro keeps running, and a weary Naoto relies on the happy memories of their time together to keep him going. Finally, he catches up to her and earnestly pleads for Nagatoro to model for him. Initially resistant, Nagatoro ultimately agrees when she almost falls into the school pool, and Naoto manages to catch her. They both tumble into the pool, but the request cheers up Nagatoro. As the festival approaches, Naoto creates various portraits of Nagatoro, capturing her in everyday moments. While she's pleased with the paintings, her friends wonder if they'll be enough to win the competition. Naoto shares their concerns, but Nagatoro reassures him that they'll emerge victorious. However, when they sneak a peek at Sana's artwork, Nagatoro is taken aback by the president's powerful portrait. In response, Naoto suggests a group portrait featuring both him and Nagatoro. Much to her excitement, her friends concoct an underhanded plan to outshine the club president's work. On the festival day, the art club sets up their exhibition. Sana reminds Naoto that he can't back down from the challenge and shows him a popular school charm, leaving him curious about Nagatoro and her friends' intentions. As other students inquire about their art exhibits, Naoto struggles to communicate effectively. Suddenly, Nagatoro, Yoshi, and Sakura, dressed as Toracats and in disguise, perform a dance that draws the school's attention. They use this opportunity to promote Naoto's art exhibition. Despite their efforts to drive traffic to the art club, the president's exhibit still attracts more visitors. Naoto and Nagatoro both become irritated when they see each other interacting with classmates of the opposite gender. Maki advises Nagatoro to take a break, but they discover Sakura has found a substitute nerd to take her place for lunch. Later, as Nagatoro and Naoto walk together, they share conflicted feelings. Naoto praises Nagatoro for her help in modeling and making the art exhibit a success. After enjoying lunch together, they witness a commotion at the president's art exhibit. The student guidance committee is shutting it down due to its suggestive nature. Naoto and his friends intervene, defending the president and presenting video footage of visitors appreciating her artwork. Sana, though irritated by her disqualification, agrees to keep the art club alive. Nagatoro and her friends insist that Sana helps them sell cat toy merchandise during the festival as punishment. At the end of the festival, Maki announces their substantial earnings, but Nagatoro heads back to the art club room with Naoto. Sana compliments Naoto's skill and appreciates the evident love in his work, which leaves both Nagatoro and Naoto slightly embarrassed. Joined by her friends, they decide to attend the closing festivities together. The next day, Naoto finds Nagatoro asleep once again and draws her. As he shows her his latest work, she surprises him by asking him to close his eyes and then gives him a sincere kiss on the cheek before running off. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.